So tell me, what was it like stepping out of your typical comedy stuff to get dark and spooky with Adam?
It was great. It was really fun and a real challenge. And as an actor, you can get a little bit typecast, and I've had a lot of fun doing comedic roles, but I've always really pined after the opportunity to get to do something completely different and get audiences to see me in a slightly different light. And yeah, this was all of those things, and it turns out like playing a villain is quite a lot of fun as well.
I mean, what was the biggest challenge?
I mean, the biggest challenge was that it was quite a demanding part in terms of playing a character that's very competent at a lot of things. And, I'm used to playing characters that are quite incompetent and are fools. And that's quite a light lift sometimes if you're just having to turn up and be clumsy and say the wrong thing. And with this guy, he was meant to be a great cook, and he could flare cocktails, and he could dance and speak different languages, and he was in good shape. And it meant that there was a hell of a lot of prep and a lot of trying to make sure that I could be adept at all of those things on screen. So it was quite exhausting from that point of view. And I definitely left it going, oh yeah, it's a lot easier to play sort of idiotic fools.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of depth to comedy as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely think there's some stuff that you can apply to this. And even with comedy, it's quite technical and analytical, and that's certainly the way that I've always approached it. And so I was definitely able to use some of those tools for how I approach this part. And also, the show is dark, and it's a revenge thriller, but it's definitely got a very specific tone, and there is some dark humor and wit to it as well. And Adam as a character on the surface is someone that is quite, charming, and he has a sense of humor and all of those things. So, it was definitely a marrying up of these two genres rather than it just all being kind of like one note and like really dark and sinister. We definitely had to try and, walk that tightrope.
Hey, can we talk about working with the costume designer on how dapper and chic you looked in the show?
Yeah, we really wanted to get his look right. I think they did a great job with all of the characters as well, and making sure that he felt set apart from the family, and they're in all of their kind of like designer clothes, and we wanted him to feel like he is the outsider, this sort of interloper that comes into their world, and making sure that he had a really kind of distinct look against the kind of the palettes of the Tanner family. So yeah, I think they did a really good job of that, and sort of visually reminding you that he was the cuckoo in the nest.
Yeah. Maybe because you've been doing a lot of interviews today, have you had a lot of people draw a parallel between your role and the talented Mr. Ripley type of thing?
Yeah, that was definitely a reference, I think, when we were, cooking up this show and looking at, those shows that are about these people that come into the lives of wealthy families and like bring them down, and that was certainly one, and a lot of those kind of like 80s thrillers and The Hand That Rocks the Cradle and movies like that again were things that we drew inspiration from. And I certainly revisited the talented Mr. Ripley. The one with Andrew Scott, I didn't think it'd come out when we filmed, but I was rewatching that performance of Matt Damon's, and that was certainly a really good like tonal reference for me. And even taking in things like Psycho, I watched that for the I hadn't seen it for a while, but the showrunner James said that it was a performance that he'd sort of considered when he was writing Adam, and especially sort of seeing Anthony Perkins in those opening scenes when he presents as this really kind of like softly spoken, charming, lovely person, but it's all underpinned by this like darkness and slight creepiness. And so yeah, there was lots of good references that he kind of ushered me towards to help like come up with my performance.
Okay. Let's talk about the dance move scene. I mean, you really bust out some dance moves there. What was it like with the training and, the rehearsal? I mean, it was kind of wild in itself.
Yeah, it was, and it was. It's a really specific dance, and spent like weeks before doing lots of training with this great choreographer Patsy, and we were doing that in the UK in these studios, and trying to like get all of the moves into my system so that it felt natural on the day. But then we filmed that wedding scene in an actual village in Greece, and just invited all of the like local townsfolk down to be extras and to be part of it, so it felt really authentic. But obviously what that meant is that when I was there on the day, like practicing this dance, suddenly I was surrounded by lots of people that knew it far better than I did, and they were all there like interjecting and trying to give me like, you know, some tips on how to pull it off and how to make it feel more authentic. And they watched me do it a couple of takes. And then I remember one of the guys from the town coming up to me and going, you know the key to unlocking this dance? I was like, no, please tell me, I just want to get it right. And he went, you need to have a couple of shots before you do it, because no one has ever attempted this dance sober. So he gave me a couple of shots of Ouzo, which I knocked back, and then the next take, everything was so much better. Like, it freed up all of my body, and I think that was the one they ended up using.
That's great. Yeah. I definitely feel like that translates well in the footage.
Yeah.
It feels like you're fully into it. It's non-traditional dance moves that we don't really see in North America. What's the name of the dance called?
It's called 𝐊𝐿𝐵𝐾𝐲𝐰𝐵𝐿. I might be pronouncing that wrong, and I may have danced it wrong as well. But it's it's a really strange dance as well, because everything's like off the beat. So, and it's kind of, when they do it for real in like Greek culture, it's done at these weddings, and it's improvised. So it's this very like impulsive dance, and so you also need to make sure that it doesn't look too choreographed. Which initially, when they told me, I was like, oh great, yeah, it's definitely not going to look choreographed when I do it. But you had to make it look good and feel like real, but then also, find the emotion in it and make it feel like it was something that was sort of coming to him in the moment. So it was a really challenging element of this.
Okay, well, we have 1 minute left. I would love to know.
Would you like me to perform the dance?
Yes,
yeah.
I know, right?
1 minute to 𝐊𝐿𝐵𝐾𝐲𝐿, yeah.
What's the best advice that your dad has given you about the industry, if you can quickly sum it up?
My best advice that my dad has given me is probably, your career is defined by the jobs that you say no to as much as the jobs that you say yes to, which I think was a way of just getting me to be thoughtful and selective about the work that I do. And so, I try to interrogate everything that comes my way in a really thoughtful way. But Malice was a very easy yes, because, it's a completely new challenge for me as an actor and an opportunity to get something that I've never done before. So I'm very thankful that I said yes to this one.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks for the interview.